Hello guys! Today I'm going to show you how to make this very cute crochet panda rattle or panda teether for expecting parents or yourself if you just want a really cute crochet baby panda. For your panda you're going to need some yarn. I took cream yarn here, as well as black yarn, and you're also going to need a crochet hook. I used a size 3.5 for this project. And you're also going to need a wooden ring. This one has a diameter of 6 centimeters on the inside, and I find that just to be the perfect size. First of all, you're going to make a magic loop with your white yarn. For that, you're going to wrap the yarn around your finger, cross in front. Then you have 2 strands of yarn on the back of your hand, and you're going to grab those with your needle, twist, and then pull the yarn through the loop you just created. If you need an in-depth tutorial on this, there's plenty on YouTube for magic circles. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 6 by going into the loop, pulling the yarn through, and then pulling the yarn through both loops on your hook. I'm going to show you this in a little more detail now. So you have the loop on your hook. You go through your magic circle with your crochet hook, catch the yarn. There we go. You have 2 loops on your hook and you pull the yarn through those 2 loops. Now we're going to do that 4 more times, so we have 6 single crochets into our magic circle in total. So there's 4, 5, and the last one 6. So now you count back the loops 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you insert your hook into the last one. I just like to do that because we're going to pull the circle shut now, and sometimes the first stitch just gets too tight to enter the crochet hook into it later. So I like to insert my hook first, and then you grab the tail and you pull your magic circle shut. There we go, now it's really closed. And now what you're going to do is you're going to work in rows to create a sphere. So we have already inserted our hook into the first stitch. We have 6 stitches right now, and now we're going to single crochet 2 in every single one of these stitches. So we end up with 12 stitches in total. So I'm going to go into the same stitch a second time and pull through. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch and single crochet 2 times into this stitch as well, and repeat that until I have 12 stitches in total. So now we're reaching the end of this row. That's the last stitch, 12. Pull through. And there you have your first row after your magic circle, and 12 stitches in total. Now, to make my life easier with counting for the next rows, I'm going to use a stitch marker, and I'm going to place it right between the loop on my hook and the yarn over my finger. And for this next row, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the first stitch and 2 in the second stitch, and repeat that 5 more times until we reach the end, and we have 12 stitches in total in the end. So I did one in the first stitch, and now I'm going into the second and going into that one twice to increase in every other stitch. So there I am on my last single crochet of this row. That's the last stitch. I'm going to single crochet twice into that last stitch, and now I have 18 stitches in total. Now I'm going to remove my stitch marker and place it right between the yarn over my finger and the loop on the hook again. And for the next row, we're going to work one single crochet in the first stitch, one in the second, and two into the third stitch. So we're going to increase in every third stitch, and we're going to end up with 24 stitches in total for this row. So now we're nearing the end of this third row, and there's our last 3 single crochets. This is the last stitch, so we're going to do 2 into the last single crochet, and now we have 24 stitches in total. Once again, I'm going to remove my stitch marker and place it right at that starting point. And for the next row, we're going to work one single crochet in the first 3 stitches and then increase into the 4th stitch, and we're going to end up with 30 stitches in total. So once again, we are nearing the end of this row. We're just finishing up by putting one single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then 2 single crochets into the 4th and last one. And we're going to end up with 30 stitches in total. So now that I finished this row and we now have 30 stitches, I'm going to check if I already find my work big enough. I usually find that it fits best if at this point the work fits into the inside of my wooden ring. But if you wanted a larger head, you would just continue to do what we did, increase the number of stitches in between increases and work your way up in increments of increasing by 6. But I'm just going to stop right here with the increases and work one single crochet into every single crochet on the way. So no more increases, but just working to make the sphere round from now on. So we have 30 stitches, and I'm going to work exactly 30 stitches for this next row. And I'm going to do that, so only work one single crochet into every stitch that you have for the next 3 rows in total. So as you can see, I have worked 3 rows of 30 stitches around, and you can really see the sphere shape forming now. I'm going to insert my stitch marker once again, because now we're going to close the sphere by working decreases, and we're going to do that just the reverse way that we did the increases. So for this row, we're going to do 3 single crochets in the 3 stitches that you have, and into the 4th and 5th stitch you're going to work a decrease by inserting your hook into the 4th stitch, pulling the yarn through but leaving it on the hook, going into the 5th stitch, pulling the yarn through. You have 3 loops on your hook, and you pull the yarn through all of those loops, and then you pull tight. By pulling tight, you ensure that there is no gaps in your final work. So you just repeat that all the way around 5 more times, and you're going to end up with 24 stitches again. So this is the final one. We're going to work single crochets into 3 stitches, and the 4th and 5th one we're going to use to decrease There we go. Insert your hook, pull through, leave it on there, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull through again, and pull the yarn through all 3 loops on your hook. And there was just a little thread there. I'm going to cut that off right away, and then we're going to continue. So there we go. And now, as always, we're going to move our stitch marker, and for the next row we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then decrease into stitches 3 and 4, and repeat that till the end of the row. So we have 1 single crochet, and again 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then in stitch 3 and 4 we're going to decrease to further close our sphere. So pull the yarn through, leave it on the hook, go into the next stitch, pull the yarn through again, you have 3 loops on your hook, and you pull the yarn through all 3 loops and pull tight. So now we're at the end of this row, and you're going to end up with 18 stitches at the end of this row. There we go, we have 18 stitches in total, and now for our row to get 12 stitches in total at the end, we're going to remove our stitch marker, put it back, and now we're going to do 1 single crochet and 1 decrease into the 2nd and 3rd stitch, and repeat that all the way around. And again, we're nearing the end of this row. We are just going to make our last decrease, and we're going to have 12 stitches now in total. You see we just decreased in the same increments as we increased before, and we went from 6 to 12 to 18, 24 and 30, and we went backwards just the same way. Now you pull tight, and the next thing we're going to do is start filling our sphere before we move on to our last row and then closing the sphere. In order to fill our sphere, we're going to use just some stuffing material, and I'm going to pull the yarn a little further out, not pull it through, but just create a larger loop so it doesn't unravel while we work on our sphere. I'm going to pull the tail tight one last time, and then just stuff the tail into the sphere to act as additional filling. And then I'm going to stuff as much filling into the sphere as I can. Filling deflates with time, so you'd rather overstuff it a little than too little. And as you can see, I'm just trying to shove it in there. Later on, I'm going to use the back of my crochet hook to also help with it. And you just try to get into all the I was going to say nooks and crannies, but it's a sphere, so just try to move with your finger also into the sides and not only into the top. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuffing that can go in there. I recommend working in small sections instead of just one large bunch, so you just get a better a better outcome in the end. So now that you can see our sphere is well stuffed, and we're going to just move the rest of the stuffing out of our way and go in for our last row. We're aiming at 6 stitches in total. We have 12 right now, so we're going to decrease in every single stitch, meaning always crochet 2 stitches together. So go into the first stitch. This is going to be a little tough, but just try to work with different angles so that it works for you. Go into the first 2 stitches and decrease all the way around, and really make sure to pull tight on those decreases so the gaps are not going to be as visible in the end. Working my needle into the last decrease, pulling through and pulling tight, and you can see there's only a very small gap left now. I'm going to cut my yarn and leave quite a long tail so we can sew it shut later on, and also sew it to the body later on. Then I'm going to pull my yarn through all the way, pull tight, and the next thing we're going to do is sew this sphere shut. There I'm just adding a little more stuffing, as you can see, with the help of the back of my crochet hook, just to get even the last bit stuffed. And after that we're going to thread our thread onto a needle and start sewing. As you can see, here I have my needle. It's quite a large one, and I'm going to go into every single of our 6 stitches that we last created and just weave my needle through, and then pull all those shut at the same time. So you see, I went into the first stitch, now I'm going into the second. I go all the way around, and when I'm finished with that, I'm pulling once tightly, and it should close the gap pretty nicely. So now you can see I went through all of the loops, and now I'm pulling tight. Make sure not to rip your yarn at this stage, that would be very unfortunate, but pull tightly and steadily. Now it's almost completely closed, and I'm just going to weave my needle through just a little bit in order to secure it, and then I'm going to tie a knot in the very end, and maybe tie a second knot just so it's secure. And then don't weave the end into your work, but simply leave it so we can use it later on to attach our sphere, our head, to the body. For the snout, we're going to start just the way we did for the body. We're going to start with a magic circle, go through there, grab the yarn, twist and pull the yarn through to create your loop. And into this loop we're going to do 4 single crochets, so not 6 like we did with the body, but only 4 of them. So that's 2, 3 and 4. Just like before, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch that we made. Which is a little difficult, but it's only going to get more difficult if you wait until you pull it shut. And now we can pull the magic circle shut. And now we're going to increase in every single one of these 4 stitches. So we have 8 stitches in total in the end. So just 2 single crochets into the first stitch, 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and 2 in the fourth. And for our last row on the snout, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch to make the snout a little more rounded. So you do 8 stitches in total. So there you have the snout. You can cut the yarn, leave a tail so we can sew it on later, and then you just go through the next stitch, and I like to pull the yarn through that stitch in the loop on the hook so it lays, the last loop lays flat, and there you have it. Pull tight and your snout is done. For the ears, you're going to take your black yarn, and you can see maybe that the black yarn is a little smaller in diameter than the white yarn that I used, so that's why I used a smaller hook as well. If you have the same size yarn, that's perfectly fine, but I just had this on hand and didn't want to go out and buy new yarn. You're going to start the same way we did before with a magic circle. And into this magic circle, you're going to do 6 single crochets. So just like we did with the sphere, with the body, 6 into our magic circle. So that's 2, 3, there we go, 4, 5, and 6. And once again, you're going to insert your hook into the last stitch and then pull the magic circle shut. And for the next row, we're going to increase in every single stitch so that we end up with 12 stitches at the end of the row. It's 1, and then the same one again, second one, and repeat to do that all the way around. Finished, just doing the last few stitches. And now to be easy on myself, I'm again going to insert a stitch marker, the same we used before. And for the next row, there's going to be no increases, but we're simply going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch. So we're going to remain to have 12 stitches in total, just to get a nice little curve to this sphere or this half sphere, which is going to form our ears at the end of this row. So once again, we're just going to bind off by going into the next stitch with our needle, pulling the yarn through and pulling it through both loops on the hook, pull the yarn through all the way, and now you can cut the yarn and leave a tail so we can sew on the ears later. starting to form. This is what it's going to look like on our head, already starting to look like a little panda. And if you want your panda to have 2 ears, you need to make 2 of these. Now for the little eye patches, you're going to take your black yarn again and create a slip knot the way I show here. And now with this slip knot on your hook, you are going to chain 4. So just grab the yarn and pull it through your hook, your chain. You do that 4 times. And now you're going to insert your hook into the second last chain that you made. So not the very last one, not that one, but that one. Second chain down. Pull the yarn through and create a single crochet into that chain. Then you do another single crochet down the chain into the second chain you made, and another one into the very first chain that you made. That way you're going to work your way around your chain to make it broader. You're going to do another single crochet in the very same stitch that we just did one in, and then also a third one to get around that corner basically. So you have 3 single crochets into the very first chain that you created, and now you do 1 single crochet into the next stitch and 1 single crochet into the one after that. So you're on the other side of your chain now from where you started. And then you're also going to do 2 single crochets into that last stitch there. So you have 3 into the most outest stitch from the one side of the chain and 3 into the furthest out chain on the other side of the chain. You're seeing that it's giving me quite a hard time here, but I'm trying to put 2 single crochets in the same stitch at the very end, and there we have it. And now we have our little patch. I'm going to cut the yarn and we're going to bind off here by inserting our hook once again into the next stitch and pulling the yarn through both loops. And you're going to do 2 of these for your 2 eyes. The last thing we're going to do is stitch the mouth onto the snout. And I just went in right into the center and then down. And always coming back into the center, I from there on created a little nose on this snout. But you just do this whichever way you like, whatever you find looks cute. I just find it easiest to go always back into the center and from there on expand whatever kind of facial features I would like this panda bear to have. So here you see my little panda. It does look a little sadistic, but I'm just trying to really get a grasp of where I want every single piece to be before I start sewing it on, because in the end you can have all the pieces, but if you position them in the wrong way, it's not gonna look cute, or it's gonna look off in some way. So really take your time, take your needles, stab your little panda, and try to get it just the way that you like it. To me, that looks quite right. You saw that I positioned the little patches a little higher than I did before. And when you're happy with how it turned out and how it's looking with the ears, there you see that, then you can start simply taking your needle, threading the tails through the needle, and start sewing every single part onto the body of your panda. So after sewing all the parts on, you can see we there have a little panda. The eyes are simply white yarn, and the black in the eyes is Sharpie. And you can see that all the tails are coming out of his little body there on the bottom, which makes it a lot easier to just tie it off. And now we're going to put him on his ring. For the ring, I'm going to take my black yarn once again, and we're again going to create a slip knot on our hook and chain. How many chains you need is going to depend on the width of your wooden ring. It's always just trial and error, or hopefully only try, because you can simply take your chain, wrap it around the wooden ring as you see me doing here, because it always also depends on the width of the yarn you're using. So simply try out how wide your chain has to be to wrap around easily yet tightly around your wooden ring. And after you've determined the correct width of the piece you're going to create one more chain. I'm sorry, this is out of frame here. Create one more chain just for a little ease, and then you turn your work and start working single crochets down the chain, a little like we did before with the eye patches, all the way around. The first row is a little fiddly, simply because working with this chain, there's not much resistance, but you can manage. Go through every single chain, put a single crochet in there, and when you're at the end of this row, you create one chain. You're going to see it here just in a second. Yeah, I'm getting through there for the last one. And now you chain one, you turn your work, and now you're going to continue working one single crochet into every single stitch. And you're going to do that for as long as you need to make this piece as long as you want it to be. So maybe you want a short body, quote unquote, around the ring, then you just make it short. If you want it long, you can make it longer. If you want the entire ring to be covered in yarn, make it super long. Whichever you decide, we're going to sew this onto the ring as soon as we're finished. So here you see my little patch that I made. I wanted about a third of the ring to be covered. So now I'm just putting it around the ring. I'm taking my needle. I'm going to thread the tail that I left after I cut off on the needle. And then I'm just simply going to sew this whole thing onto the ring. Now the only thing left to do is tie a couple knots into the strands of yarn that are sticking out of our little panda, just for some extra security. I don't know what strings those are, which parts exactly they belong to, but if you just tie a couple of knots in between, black with white, and then you're gonna have just a little extra security there. And as soon as you're done with that, you can cut off a couple of those strings. And then the last thing is going to be sewing the head onto the body. So you can see I now have my little panda and the patch that I made to sew onto the wooden ring. And you can see also with the panda I only left black strings that are long, and now I'm just going to determine the middle of the black patch, and I'm going to tie the head of my panda onto this patch. It's easiest if you do this before you attach the patch to the wooden ring. You can see I marked the middle there with a little needle, and now I'm simply going to knot or to tie my panda onto this patch, so I can after that sew the patch onto the wooden ring easily. And there you have it. That's your cute little panda, all finished. Or not all finished, actually. At this point I decided I need a little more cuteness, but you could leave it just like that. It definitely resembles a panda, I think, but I decided that it needed a little blush cheeks, so I added those, as I am going to show you right away. But if you like it like this, just leave it like that. It's adorable. So here you can see I took some blush yarn and I created a magic circle one last time, and then I did 4 single crochets into this magic circle. So there you can see it. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4, the last one. And now I'm going to close the magic circle, because that's all we need to do for those little cheeks. It's really just a tiny accent on the bear. You're gonna pull the yarn through, cut it off, leave a little tail to sew it on, and after that you're going to have this cute little cheeky panda that I created here. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it all made sense to you, and I hope I'm going to see you again in my next video. Have a great day.